Welcome to a Healthy Living video blog at workoutmaster.com. This is Ruben.
And this is Aram.
Today we're going to talk about training to failure. It's training to fail. Let's tear this one apart.
Absolutely. Yes, the thought of it, when you said, I'm trained to fail, it's just automatically I get horrified because why would you train to fail at something? It is not going to make you stronger. I can assure you that. What you're actually doing is predisposing your motor engrams to always facilitate the same type of response, which means that when you train yourself to failure, what your body will learn to do is to fail very, very efficiently, which is not a good idea.
Of course. What we have is we have our body. It's like a hardware. Inside of it, we have a software. And software, what Ruben referred to as a motor engram. Yeah? So that's basically the software that runs your body. So anytime that you train your software to get a mistake, at some point you get a mistake. It's like putting a virus into your body, and at some point you're going to fail. Now you're going to see this kind of particular training quite a lot, because basically what the guys do is you go to the gym and you work until you cannot do it anymore. Now before you cannot do it anymore, you slowly, you might have a good form, then you start having like a bad form, and at some point you can't even do it with a bad form. Yeah, that's basically what happens.
Yes, it looks like a spasm or convulsion.
Yes, but for the guys, they think we have such a mentality of going, and regardless of anything, like I'm macho, I can do it, and no. And the more you do it, the more you end up in this mindset of failing. And then actually, interestingly enough, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. Unfortunately, that kind of accomplishment can create a lot of trouble. So what we want to do with this particular episode is just explain it to you that if you're training to fail, that you will be failing, and you'll be failing most of your life, and we really don't want you to do so. So make sure you stop before you fail. So when we teach exercise, we talk about intensity, and one of the important keys of intensity is you want to stop before you cannot do exercise with a good form. And that's very important. First of all, you would want to learn how to do exercise with a good form, number one. Number two, you want to learn how to stop before you start failing. Yes. So one of the things we would recommend is you to work out in front of a mirror and look at yourself and be somewhat critiquey about your particular form. You want it to look beautiful, regardless of who is looking at you. When you do exercise, and if you don't know what beautiful is, you want to find somebody who exercises and knows anything about good form and learn from them. You can ask them, what do you think about this? Or what? And then when you learn that, then you can go and apply it to yourself. I trained myself by learning from, let's say, from a Czech institute, and after that going and working in front of the mirror until I figured out, for me, that looked pretty good. Now, interestingly enough, I do exercise now, and people say you look like a guy from the Czech book, like you move it, be healthy book. I'm like, that's because how I do exercise, I do exactly how they're written, and that's exactly where I learned. So I learned, this is what I think is a good form, and that's how I learned it. Want to say anything?
Yeah, I can say a few things. I think the main idea that drove people to train to failure is actually from looking at very, very proficient and very advanced athletes, that they do what's called super load or overload sets, where they're actually working with percentages. They actually go above the 100% that they can normally do for one repetition max. This is what typically heavy-duty athletes that are really, really well-trained, that have a training life of many years, that means the amount of years that they've been training for, that oftentimes what they do is they do 110, 120, 130% of the one rep max, which means doing 30% more of what they can only do one rep, and they're doing it in an eccentric fashion. So that means, let's say, for example, that they were doing, I don't know, a shoulder press, for example. And typically they can only lift, raise, and lower their weight for one repetition, let's say with 290 pounds. All of a sudden, they want to increase it by 30%, which means that they're going to be adding X amount of pounds, which will be another 90 pounds in this case, or close to 90, something like 87 pounds. And they will lower the weight only once from the top to the bottom in an effort to overload the system, for the nervous system to get accustomed to loading with a lot of weight. And that's what these people kind of have translated for training to failure, to actually failing to actually do a concentric, and emphasizing on the eccentric part of the exercise, which is just lowering this particular case of the shoulder press. And everything has taken out of context. Bodybuilding has done a whole lot of bad to training form and training function, and then we have people out there, just hurting themselves. So the idea to training to failure It's a huge mistake. You train as hard as you can with perfect form. The minute the form diminishes, you have changed the position of the exercise, so you're no longer doing the same exercise. It might seem like you're doing it, but you're not. The proof of the pudding is that you cannot hold posture, so if you're not holding posture, why the hell are you doing the exercise to begin with? You're actually training yourself to hurt yourself or to fail to do it, which is a mistake.
Absolutely, guys. Remember, if you exercise and stop before you fail, then your future looks better already. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time.